welcome back to another episode of Neiman Group. How are you doing today, James?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you. So, today we're going to talk about a subject that I know we hear it a lot in our business.
Very touchy.
Yeah. And we get a lot of sellers that going through divorce and they actually need to sell their property, right? So, as we know, it's not an easy sell for the sellers,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of things going on when a couple going through a divorce and now they need to sell their property. So hopefully now we can give him some tips or some advices how to sell the property, their property, without any hassle, to do it quick, so they also can get um, the best price for their property without creating any other issues or complication between them two,
Yeah.
even more than what they have, right?
Yeah, it comes with all sorts of complications. And I think the most important thing that you could carry into a transaction like that if you're divorcing a partner is communication.
Correct.
It's the
Yes.
most important thing. That could literally render a transaction doable or not doable if you're not communicating properly. And so, I would say if you're going through a divorce and you're selling an asset, any type of estate sale, the most important thing is communication with your partner.
But it sometimes can be very hard, right? Because you're getting divorced, you split up from this same person, right? So now you
Mhm.
need actually to communicate with the same person that you were splitting up, which obviously, if you had a good communication, probably would stay together.
Yeah.
So that's
And,
super difficult.
and that is mitigated when they're on the same page. So let's say if I'm talking to the husband, right, and his wife doesn't want to sell, but he does, we're not going to be able to do that transaction.
Yeah.
There's no way to get it done. If she doesn't want to sell, that's a lost cause. And so in that case, we can't do anything at all. As long as they're communicating properly throughout the entire process and they both are on the same page in terms of wanting to sell, maybe it's because they just want money, maybe it's because they want to go their separate ways completely. Whatever the reason is, as long as they're on the same page, we can for sure get it done.
Here's some stuff to consider when you're going through a divorce and you want to sell your property, right?
When you're going through a divorce, it's important to determine and be on the same page, not just on whether you want to sell the property, but also which route you want to take.
Correct.
Because one of you may want to list the property because you're going to get top dollar potentially. The other may want the cash route because it's a lot quicker and cleaner, right? And you just want to get rid of that asset. You want to sever ties immediately.
So I think in a divorce situation, when you list your property on the market, it might be very difficult because first you need to agree on the purchase price, and it might gonna take a while until you're gonna actually sell your property. It might
Yeah.
gonna take 4, 5, 6 months,
Hmm.
especially in this market, in
Yeah.
today's market. So you need to decide the selling price,
Hmm.
and you need to decide which agent to go with.
Hmm.
You need to decide if you wanna do repairs or you wanna contribute funds to the buyer when you are selling the property. And when you have two opinions of people that don't really like each other in this moment, it's very hard to be on the same page.
Yeah.
So this is a big issue for a divorced couple, and for us as a buyers, we need to speak with them most of the time separately. So we speak with the husband separately, and then we need to confirm the same thing with the wife or the other way around, right?
Yeah, and I've definitely found myself being a mediator with both at the same time in a lot of cases.
You
And
should charge for it.
I should $1,000 an hour, guys. No, just play. But so I actually think we overcomplicate it. Not just the sellers going through a divorce, but also the buyers sometimes, right? And so I actually believe that selling on divorce is very clean. It's easier than a foreclosure. It's probably one of the more easier distressed transactions. And the reason I say that is because I kind of keep harping on this point. I think as long as you guys are communicating properly, it'll all go as smooth as it can be, you know? And
Correct.
that's at the root of everything because that's really all it is. As long as you guys agree, it's a pretty easy transaction. I think it becomes complicated when feelings get involved. And that kind of goes back to the point that it's not just splitting the asset. You're carrying a ton of baggage emotionally financially as well.
Memories from the property too, from the
Memories, yep,
house. Yes.
100%. And so as long as we're able to, I guess, keep those separate from the actual transaction itself, which in some cases is impossible, but we'll be able to make it as smooth as it can be.
Correct. I just think that when they're going through a divorce and they're not really communicating with each other, that can be a big problem.
Yeah.
Because they need to make so many decisions.
Mhm.
So decision number one is, again, if they want to list the property or go into the investor route.
Mhm.
Then they need to decide what price they want to sell the property, right?
Mhm.
They need to decide if they want to make some repairs
Mhm.
before they're gonna list the property, or if they want to contribute to the buyer when a buyer actually is interested in the property, and they need to make a decision how much to pay to the other side of the agent. So there is a lot of discussions and a lot of decision to make for a couple that actually doesn't want to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Now, because of this market right now, I would recommend them to not to go to this listing route and list it on the market because of a few things. Number one, you need to pay for two agents. Number two, you need to communicate a lot because you need to have the husband and the wife to agree on those decisions.
Mhm.
So, and the process can be, it's a very long process. It can be
Yeah.
between 4 to 6 months, especially if the property is not renovated.
Mhm.
And a lot of decisions they need to make while they're in the process. My advice is to find a better route, which is to find a good investor
Mhm.
that can give them either a good cash offer that will expedite the process, so they will be able to close within 21 days or even before. They don't need to hire any agent. They don't need to do any repairs. They don't need to fix anything, right? And they don't need to pay any commissions or any fees at closing. So for people that don't get along together, they can be done about in few days
Mhm.
versus to keep it going for few months.
Yeah, and no, to add to your point, actually, it's not just the benefits of speed and convenience. I think that, okay, so I'm not down talking agents, of course. We always say that because we are brokerage as well. But here's the thing. If I come to you and as an agent, I am invested in a different way than if I came to you as an investor. As an investor, our job, our goal is to acquire assets. By doing that, we have to have real, drawn out, long conversations with the sellers. And because of that, we naturally and inevitably become emotionally involved with the seller as much as we don't want to. And so in a lot of cases, we help ease their mind because we're invested a lot more than we would be if we just said, hey, let me throw your property on the market. I have no skin in the game. Let me just throw it on the market. I don't really care what happens. If it doesn't, okay. If it does, I'll make some money, right? And that's if I'm an agent.
Correct.
As an investor, I want the best asset in the cleanest way possible. And so I have an incentive to make sure this transaction goes very smoothly. And so if that involves helping you emotionally in some cases, that's just what has to be done for us to accomplish our goals. And yes, it may not be perfectly altruistic, but it's a win-win situation at the end of the day.
So I think for most of the couples that are going through a divorce, the cash route will be way better for them
100%.
because pretty much they need to make one decision, what the price that they are willing to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And many times they will compromise on the price just to get it done quick because they just don't want to continue with this process for a few months.
Yeah.
Because anyways, it's very hard on them.
And maybe they're not compromising on the price. Maybe this is the appropriate price. And it'd be a mistake to try to go list it on the market because maybe it's going to sit for 1,000 days. And then you're going to be like, oh my God, we're still divorced and we haven't sold the asset.
And they need to pay holding costs and
Yep.
they need to have discussions and what to do, what not to do.
Yep.
Talk
And
to
they're going to
agents
have
and
30
yes.
people over the next 4 months come through the house. No one's going to buy. They wasted all that time. Like you said, they're going to pay holding costs. They're getting more pissed at each other because the house hasn't sold. And it just causes
And then they're going to
more
start
issues.
blaming each other.
Exactly.
I told you we need to do that. We need to do this. We need to list it in different price. We needed to go with a different agent. So yeah, it's a recipe to a lot of problems.
Yeah. So it's a no-brainer for cash if you're going through a divorce.
So James, if somebody going through a divorce and they're calling us, they want to get a cash offer from us. What's the process?
Okay, so simple. You request a cash offer. That's usually how it starts. You're going to get a call in about 10 minutes. We have a 10-minute conversation after that. You're going to get a straight number, no commissions, no hidden fees, no closing costs associated with that. Once that happens, we open title with a reputable title company, of course. They pretty much handle everything in between. It's going to take about 2 weeks to close. Once it's closed, if you guys have an agreement for 50-50 proceed split, then that will be done automatically as a part of the settlement with title. After that, you walk away scot-free. You guys may never have to talk to each other again.
Sounds good. Very straightforward.
Straightforward.
Good, good.
It can be done and over with in 1 month.
Nice. Versus 4 to 9 months. If they're gonna list it on the market, eventually they're gonna get the same or less
Yes.
money. They're
Yes.
gonna list it on the market.
100%.
Yes. Correct.
I would argue that going to listing the property on the MLS when you're going through a divorce is a waste of time, unless it is a pristinely flipped property. Maybe you guys just did renovations 4 months ago and now you're deciding to get a divorce, you know. Maybe that's the case. It makes sense to list it on the market. In 90% of cases, it will make no sense because they've been in the house for years. It's definitely going to need repairs, and it's going to cost a pretty penny. And so even if you went on the market and you had it at a certain list price, you can be sure that you're going to have a lot of people pass, and if they're not passing, they're going to ask for a ton of concessions.
Correct.
So over time, here's the biggest difference that I've noticed with working with an investor going through a divorce and working with a realtor going through a divorce. The realtor is more like a nurse. They're going to walk you through things softly, never make a full commitment, and you may have a better idea, but no outcome, right? We're the surgeons. And so we come in, we dissect the situation, we come up with an appropriate solution, and we move forward. And sometimes people look at speed as a negative thing, like they're sacrificing something. And I would say most of the time, speed is an indication of how well you do something. Or said a better way, how fast you accomplish something is a strong indication of how well you do something.
And this is another difference, by the way, between us and agents, because they're going through a divorce and it's a very complicated situation sometimes. Many times they need post-possession or they need to stay overtime at the property to figure out some things.
Yeah.
When they list it on the market, they cannot do that. Once they sell the property, they need to move
They
out.
have to vacate, yeah.
With us, they can actually stay between 2 weeks to even a month after the sale is done, which is a huge benefit and a huge things for divorced couples.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, you know, to the previous point, just because we work really fast, that doesn't mean we can't work really slow. And so a lot of the time, what I like to say to sellers is we can move on your timeline. So we can move as quick as you want or as slow as you need. And what I mean by that is, let's say you want to stagnate the close for 6 months because things are not going to be ready for another 6 months, but you're ready to make a decision right now. We can easily go under an agreement and just stagnate the close to fit your timeline perfectly. And as you said, you know, going the listing route, there's no chance you're going to get any post-possession. Once it's done, it's done. You have to get out no matter where you are, especially because they're dealing with a loan too. You have no flexibility there.
Correct.
With us, you know, you said 2 weeks to a month. In some cases, we've did 2 months. Of course, that turns into a leaseback situation. But the point is that we're
doable.
extremely flexible. And so never think because you hear something from an investor that it's a black and white scenario. Oh, this is what he said, so that's all he can do. We could pretty much do anything. So it depends on your situation.
Very flexible.
Yeah. Yeah. So divorce is inherently a stressful thing, as I said in the beginning. Obviously, selling a house is very stressful. Going through a divorce definitely adds pressure to that. Don't let the house be the thing that holds you back from accomplishing your goals, because a divorce can hold you back for a long time. So if you want a no pressure, quick consultation on what your options are in this precarious situation, they can easily reach out to us.
I agree. Now, one more thing that I want to add, that people that are going through divorce, one of them, they need help with finding a new house for them, right?
Yes.
Again, when you list it on the market, nobody really going to help you with that. we can time the closing so you can find a new rental, and actually
Hmm.
we can help you to find the new home for you, and we can time it on the same time so we can close on your property and move you into your new home to make it easy on you, because again, the situation is not easy at all.
Yeah, and I'm gonna gloat on our team here for a second because our team, they're so good at finding you a home in a quick time frame. I always tell sellers, don't reach out regarding another property that you want to buy unless you're actually ready, because within 2 weeks you're gonna have what you like.
Yep.